Stop thinking about next season. Stop planning your spring garden like it is a job you have to reapply for every single year. Stop crawling to the seed catalogue, begging for packets of tomatoes and beans that will live for 3 months and then die. What if I told you there is a plant that laughs at this cycle? A plant you bury once and it feeds you for the rest of your life. Not just for a season, not just for a year, forever. You plant it today, and your grandchildren will still be digging up food from the same patch decades from now without lifting a finger. It does not care if you forget to water it. It does not need fertilizer. It does not fear drought, frost, or poor soil. In fact, the worse your land is, the happier it gets. And when the harvest comes, you do not pull it up and kill it. You take what you need, leave the rest in the ground, and next spring it comes back stronger, bigger, and more aggressive than before. This is not science fiction. This plant exists. In the 1600s, it was so valuable that European kings fought wars to control it. During World War I and World War II, it saved entire populations from starvation. It was called the secret weapon of survival. But today, it has been buried. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. A plant that feeds you forever is a nightmare for an industry that profits from selling you seeds every spring. This is the story of the Sunchoke, the plant they erased because it made you too independent. Welcome to Soil and Secrets. Let me take you back to a time before grocery stores, before industrial farms, before the illusion of food security built on diesel and chemicals. Go back 300 years. You are a farmer in Europe. Your family depends on the wheat harvest. But this year, a late frost killed the grain. The potato crop rotted in the ground. Famine is coming. Your children are hungry. Then you remember the strange knobby roots your neighbor planted 5 years ago. You walk to his field, and what you see defies logic. The ground is frozen solid. The air is bitter cold. But towering above the frost line, 8 feet tall, are thick green stalks crowned with bright yellow flowers. They look like sunflowers, but they are not dying. They are thriving. Your neighbor kneels down, reaches into the frozen dirt with his bare hands, and pulls out a fistful of gnarled potato-like tubers. He hands one to you. You bite into it. It is crunchy, sweet, slightly nutty. And most importantly, it is food. Real, dense, calorie-packed food in the dead of winter when everything else is gone. He tells you he planted them once, 6 years ago. He has not replanted since. Every year he digs up what he needs, and every year more come back. He calls them the forever root. This is not a fantasy. This happened. The Sunchoke, also called the Jerusalem artichoke, is a perennial sunflower native to North America. When European explorers first encountered it in the early 1600s, they were stunned. The indigenous people of the Great Plains had been cultivating it for centuries, but not the way Europeans understood farming. They did not plow fields. They did not plant rows. They simply left a few tubers in the ground after each harvest, and the plant did the rest. It was agriculture without labor. It was food without submission. The French were the first to bring it back to Europe. It spread like wildfire. Within 50 years, it was growing in nearly every country from Spain to Russia. Why? Because it required almost nothing. You did not need good soil. In fact, sunchokes prefer terrible soil. Sandy, rocky, exhausted ground where wheat would starve, sunchokes explode. You did not need to irrigate. Once established, the roots burrowed deep, sometimes 8 feet down, pulling water from places other crops cannot reach. You did not need pesticides. Deer might nibble the leaves, but they cannot kill it. Insects ignore it. Disease barely touches it. And here is the truly radical part. You did not need to buy seeds. Ever. If you planted sunchokes on Monday, by Friday you owned a food system that would outlive you. Every tuber you missed during harvest became next year's crop. The plant was not just resilient. It was unstoppable. So if this miracle plant saved Europe from famine, fed armies during wars, and required zero inputs, why is it not in every backyard in America today? Why have most people never even heard of it? The answer is simple and ugly. The sunchoke made farmers too powerful, and power is something the system cannot tolerate. Let me show you the math that terrified the agricultural industry. A standard potato plant gives you about 10 pounds of tubers per plant. If you are lucky, then it dies. Next year, you must buy new seed potatoes, prepare the soil, and start over. You are a tenant farmer on your own land, paying rent every spring in the form of labor and money. A single sunchoke plant in decent soil can yield 15 to 20 pounds of tubers in its first year. But here is where it gets dangerous. In year 2, if you left just 3 small tubers in the ground, those 3 become 30 plants. 30 plants yield 400 pounds of food. In year 3, if you are sloppy and leave a dozen tubers behind, you now have a patch that produces over 1,000 pounds. By year 5, you are not farming anymore. You are just harvesting from a self-replicating food forest that you cannot kill even if you tried. Do you see the problem? From the perspective of seed companies, this plant is a biological terrorist. It eliminates the need to buy seeds. It eliminates the need for fertilizer. It eliminates dependency. And dependency is the entire business model. But the threat went even deeper. Sunchokes did not fit into the new industrial food system that was being built in the 1700s and 1800s. Potatoes were round, smooth, and uniform. You could wash them, bag them, ship them across a continent, and tax them at every checkpoint. Sunchokes were knobby, irregular, and impossible to standardize. They looked like alien fingers. Housewives in the cities did not know what to do with them. Worse, they spoiled faster than potatoes. If you left them out of the ground for more than a week, they shriveled. They could not survive the long supply chains that fed growing urban populations. And then there was the final nail, the digestion issue. Sunchokes are packed with a carbohydrate called inulin. Your body cannot digest inulin the way it digests starch. Instead, it ferments in your gut, feeding your microbiome. For people who ate them regularly, this was fine. Their bodies adapted. But for city people who ate them once, the result was, let us be blunt, catastrophic gas. Newspapers in the 1800s ran jokes about it. Cartoons mocked them. The sunchoke became associated with embarrassment, with peasants, with poverty. The educated class rejected it. And just like that, a plant that could have fed the world became a punchline. By the late 1800s, it had nearly vanished from European gardens. But here is the irony. Every time the system collapsed, the sunchoke came back. During World War I, when food shortages crippled Germany, the government urged people to plant sunchokes. They called it the victory tuber. It saved lives. Then, after the war, when stability returned, people stopped planting it. They wanted to forget the hunger. They wanted to forget the shame. The same thing happened in World War II. Across occupied Europe, in bombed-out gardens and abandoned fields, sunchokes reappeared. Not because anyone planted them, but because they had been there all along, underground, waiting. People dug them up, boiled them, and survived. But the moment the war ended, they ripped them out. They planted potatoes and wheat again, the crops of normal times, the crops of civilization. The sunchoke became associated with trauma, with desperation, with loss. It was labeled hunger food, a plant you only ate when you had no other choice. And so, for the second time, it was erased. Not by logic, not by science, but by shame. But here is what they do not tell you. That shame was manufactured. Think about it. Why is a plant that grows without help, survives without chemicals, and feeds you for decades considered primitive? Why is a potato, which requires fertilizer, pesticides, and constant labor, considered advanced? The answer is control. A potato fits into a system. It can be bought, sold, transported, and taxed. It makes someone else rich. A sunchoke does not fit into a system. It belongs to the soil. It belongs to you. And anything that belongs to you instead of them is labeled backward, inferior, or dangerous. This is the same pattern we see over and over. Amaranth was called a weed. Comfrey was banned. Moringa was ignored. The system does not erase plants because they are bad. It erases them because they make you self-sufficient. And self-sufficient people do not need the system. But something interesting is happening right now. In farmers' markets across the country, sunchokes are quietly reappearing. Chefs are rediscovering them. Permaculture gardeners are planting them in food forests. Climate scientists are studying them as a crop for the future because they thrive in drought and heat, conditions that are killing industrial monocultures. The sunchoke is coming back. Not because corporations decided to sell it, but because people are remembering what their great-grandparents knew. Abundance does not come from a store. It comes from the ground. And once you put it in the ground, it never leaves. So how do you actually grow this forever root? It is almost offensively simple. You do not need a greenhouse. You do not need perfect soil. You just need space and a willingness to let go of control. Step 1. Get your hands on a few tubers. You can find them at farmers' markets, online, or sometimes even in the grocery store in the produce section, though those may have been treated to prevent sprouting. The best source is another gardener who already grows them. Step 2. Choose your battlefield. I say battlefield because once you plant sunchokes, they own that spot. They spread aggressively. Do not plant them in your main vegetable garden unless you want them to take over. Plant them in a corner, along a fence line, or in a spot with poor soil where nothing else will grow. They will thrive there. Step 3. Plant them in early spring. Dig a shallow trench about 4 inches deep. Place the tubers 12 inches apart. Cover them with soil. Walk away. That is it. No fertilizer, no compost, no babying. Within 2 weeks, green shoots will appear. By summer, they will be taller than you. By fall, after the first frost kills the tops, the tubers are ready. Step 4. Harvest smart. This is the key. When the stalks die back, cut them down and start digging. But here is the trick. Do not try to get every tuber. In fact, leave a few behind on purpose. Those forgotten tubers are your seed for next year. If you harvest too cleanly, you break the cycle. But if you are sloppy, you win. The plant wants to spread. Let it. Within 3 years, you will have a patch that feeds you indefinitely. Now let me tell you the secret that turns this from a survival food into a delicacy. The reason people hated sunchokes in the past was not the plant. It was bad timing. If you dig them up in August, they taste bland, starchy, and bitter. But if you wait until after the first hard frost, something magical happens. The cold triggers the plant to convert its stored inulin into fructose, a natural sugar. The tubers become sweet, nutty, and complex. Roast them with olive oil and salt, and they taste like a cross between a potato and a chestnut. Slice them thin and fry them, and they turn into crispy golden chips that put store-bought junk to shame. or eat them raw, shaved into a salad. They have a crunch like water chestnuts and a flavor like artichoke hearts. This is food you cannot buy. This is food that only exists in the hands of someone who understands the rhythm of the soil. And as for the digestion issue, here is the truth they do not tell you. If you eat sunchokes regularly, your gut adapts. The bacteria learn to process the inulin efficiently. The solution is to eat them often. We are entering an age where food security is no longer guaranteed. Droughts or longer grocery stores can empty in 48 hours. The plants that will save you are not advertised. They are the ones that have been here all along, underground, waiting for you to remember. When you plant sunchokes, you are breaking a contract. You are telling the system, so dig a hole. Drop in a tuber. Watch it grow into a tower of gold. This is not gardening. This is planting a revolution. Subscribe to Soil and Secrets.